Hi guys, Jay Smith here, welcome to AskGolfNut channel and welcome to Cleveland CBZ Wedges. Now these have a slight problem, shall we say, more so a big issue for certain types of players, and we'll go into that one in a little bit. But the CBZ Wedges are the full-on game improvement side of things. Cleveland do have the RTZ Wedges for the more players inspired among us. Cleveland are saying that 87% of golfers are using more game improvement inspired golf clubs, so they're trying to make the CBZ fit in with those. There is plenty of technology in the CBZ Wedges, and there is one massive change and also a evolution to the old style CBX wedges. We'll just quickly go into that. I've also captured some information from the golf course. I've took these on the golf course and hit these around in different situations. We'll go through how these work and where this big issue, also problem, arises its head, and so which golfers will have to understand if this wedge is going to work for them. Best thing I can do is put the information up on the screen. This comes straight from the Cleveland manual, the media manual, which they supply all of us to go through and learn all the bits and pieces to do with these wedges. But you can see there that they're using a Z alloy, different to the 431 that they've used in prior models, and so they are saying it's 25% softer. Now I don't know when it comes to a number what 25% softer really is, but when you hit these against the CBX wedges, you do feel it. Now, when you're looking at forged wedges, these do feel like forged wedges, and so the big difference we could say with a forged wedge and a cast wedge, you can feel strike and you feel distance, they say, a little bit better with a forged wedge. Now these, not forged, but they feel forged, which is a massive improvement over the old CBX. Cleveland have kept with the zip core side of things, a side of technology which tries to increase the sweet spot, or more so move the sweet spot to a certain area. They have mapped, I don't know how many golfers to try and understand where they hit on the face, and an overwhelming majority hit on the toe side. So with the zip core technology, trying to move that center of gravity a little bit more towards the toe. I personally do a lot of shots around the green where I am high handle and hitting it off of the toe, slightly open face, high handle, hitting it off the toe, and I can definitely feel when you hitting a CBZ style wedge where that center of gravity is moved a little bit more towards the toe, it doesn't twist as much. It feels nicer when you do those toe chips. The HydroZip, which works so well on their other wedges they have kept, and it's effectively trying to keep the spin up when you are in wet conditions. Now, the technology changes depending on what loft you are in, and so that's to do necessarily with sometimes you open the face on your more lofted wedges, etc. The whole idea is to try and keep that water away from the golf ball so you don't get more spin. It's just trying to get the consistency of spin when you are in those less than optimum conditions. With that Z alloy in there, which tries to make it as soft as possible, Cleveland have put a larger gel back TPU badge at the back there. This is a big wedge. There's not mince words, it is not a small wedge. If you want a smaller wedge, they have the RTZ series for that, but the CBZ absolutely is for someone who wants a little bit of real estate down by the golf ball and absolutely doesn't want to think about they're going to miss these. These are big. You compare these to a player's wedge, and yes, you definitely do see the difference between them, but it does allow them then to change the way the head is designed, allows them to get at the back there of that cavity back and stick that TPU insert, and that TPU insert works alongside their Z alloy to try and make it 25% softer, and so you get a much better feel off of the golf club. Something which will make some golfers happy is the fact that you have got the option, if you want to, for the full face grooves. Now, generally speaking, I'm not a great fan of full face grooves. I'm a bit of a more conventional, traditional type of person. However, the full face grooves, especially when you're looking at the sand wedge style of golf club, these are high toes. These have got the grooves all the way out towards the toe. And if you are in a bunker and you heavily open the face, it is common that you can get your strike slightly high and also very slightly toey, because again, you open the face up that much, and so the full face grooves are there to try and keep that consistency of spin up, and are trying to, especially if you're in the rough, you could do the same thing in a rough if you want to. You could open the face and make it a bit more of an explosion shot, and with those grooves there that will try and channel the matter away from the golf club, golf ball contact, so you can get a more reliable, more consistent launch and also spin from your shots. And for the sole and grind and loft variations, you can see on the screen there that we do have the V, S and C. It also depends on what kind of loft that you are, but you generally speaking have these 3 different sole designs and 3 different grinds. And so you'll be able to make the best, more versatile possible option. Bear in mind, these are game improvement wedges, so these do have quite big soles. I took these on the golf course and hit a variety of shots, ranging from the first one, which was like the standard normal 60-yard chip. I had the 50, in a graphite shaft, I think it was, 52, the 54 and 56 degree. But when you're hitting these from the 60-yard pitch shot, generally speaking, because it's a slightly more of a downward hit, even with a 60-yard pitch shot, the issue that I am finding with these CBZ wedges, you do not really feel at all. It's not an issue. It is a little bit later on. We'll get into that one a little bit. But the CBZ from 60 yards with that Z alloy, with that gel TPU backing on it, it does feel really very, very nice off the face. Going into the normal simple chips around the green, this is the bread and butter of most decent wedge players. And when you're looking at trying to get the golf ball on the green, get the golf ball running up to the hole and have that consistency and the understanding of how hard to hit it is important when it comes to I like soft wedges. I'm a forged wedge player myself. These CBZ wedges with that Z alloy and that TPU around the greens do feel really very, very nice, and it gives you that feel, that understanding of how hard to hit it to get it to the hole. Tight lies, now this is where the issue starts. Now, because the CBZ wedge is a game improvement wedge, its effective sole is rather big, shall we say. Now it does have relief, it does have grinds, however, it is still a very, very big wedge. Now, when I took these out to Flimpton Golf Club, so Flimpton Golf Club, we've all had in the summer of the UK very dry conditions, and with Flimpton it is a mix of nice lush grass, depending where the water has laid, and very bare lies. And so hitting this off a very bare lie, it can get quite interesting. You have to be very, very particular because of the size of that sole, how you interact with the ground. So if you are in a surface where you've got very lush grass, very soft conditions, anything like that, these CBZ wedges are amazingly good. However, if you're in a situation where you've got a very tight lie, not much in the way, it's like hard pan, the problem with the big soled wedges, as it does ride up a little bit and you can make yourself look stupid quite quickly. This is where the RTZ style comes into play. Being thinner, being a little more versatile when it's groove. Yes, you do have to be a much better wedge player, arguably, to use the RTZ. It is the more players' idea, and absolutely 95% of golfers would use the CBZ over the RTZ, or should use the CBZ over the RTZ, because on average, the CBZ just gives you a lot more playability, a lot more forgiveness, helpfulness when it comes to that sole. It just gives you more options. The only thing that it does struggle with because of that sole thickness is the fact that when you put it on a tight lie, you have to be precise with your strike. And if you are not, you'll either hit the ground for slightly earlier, and then you'll get that da-dunk, you'll hit that kind of double hit and it just scoots across the green, or you'll thin it and it will do the exact same thing. Where it fails in tight lies, rough around the green, it works an absolute treat. You can be in some interesting lies, ball being on some very fluffy rough, deep rough, thick rough, hard to get through rough, and as long as you know certain techniques to try and get that golf club going through, absolutely the CBZs with that thicker sole, going back again to 95% of shots around the greens, etc., the CBZ works really, really well. When it comes to the tight lies, no, but on these works extremely, extremely good. And no different to the tight lies. When you get into a bunker, again, the problem rears its head. When you're in a situation where you go into a bunker and it's a normal bunker with a normal amount of sand, or a normal bunker with a load of sand, and everyone has seen it, you get into a bunker, you kind of get your feet in, you dig your feet in a little bit, and it feels like you're going down and going down. It feels like quicksand. There is so much sand in these bunkers. These wedges with a very big effective sole works extremely well off those and absolutely normal bunkers. When it comes to skinny bunkers though, yes, you are going to have to play the shot slightly differently, because you cannot rely on not bouncing off of this, because again, if you've got very little amount of sand and you've got the hard surface, the subsurface underneath, then you are going going to be interacting with that when it comes to these wedges, because that sole thickness is so big. So you do have to play them more picky when you're on that situation. Or in my case, I have a more player's wedge, and so I have a different wedge setup. But then again, generally speaking, 95% of golfers should be using the CBZ. There's always going to be a situation where one golf club will never be perfect of all lies. You're just trying to get the best possible setup, the best percentage shots that you can do, and CBZ on average does the best, absolutely. And another situation when you're around the green in heavy, thick-ish rough and you haven't got long to hit it, you've got to give it a decent hit, but try and get that golf club through there. It works extremely well. Again, you've got that, effectively, that big sole glides through there quite well. And if you do have to play a bit more of an explosion shot, trying to get the golf ball up and out with not that much forward momentum, it works extremely, extremely good. Now, could I do the same thing with the RTZ? Yes, I could, absolutely. It's just that the CBZ, I play a lot of shots where I've got the golf club set so I'm high handle, open face slightly, hidden off the toe, and with that zip core where it's moving the center of gravity, moving the sweet spot as such a little bit more towards the toe, it does feel really very, very nice from even those weird and lushy situations. And finally, we have the classic bump and run. That one where you miss the green slightly, but you've got quite a long distance to go. You don't really fancy putting it. You need to get the golf ball going a little bit over some rough ground or anything else like that. The classic bump and run. It works really very, very well. This goes more down into where the Z alloy and that gel TPU backing comes in. It feels really, really nice off the face. I'll probably be using my 8-iron, 7-irons, my pitching wedge is dependent, but I was using the 50, and I tell you what, it just does really very, very well. So very, very easy to understand how far to hit it and how that golf ball is going to react when it comes off the face. It's just a really very, very good design. I wouldn't be going out there and thinking that you're just going to be buying any kind of equipment, wedge-wise or putter-wise, and thinking that it's going to absolutely transform your game. You still do need to understand and know the technique of how to use these wedges, because, again, you put a wedge in someone's hands who's a scratch golfer and he or she will be able to do amazing things with it. You take that same piece of technology, that same golf club, put it in a beginner's hands, and the golf ball could go everywhere. So absolutely is much more down towards the Indian than the arrow. But when you're looking at the differences between wedges, there is a distinct difference and distinct benefit in certain wedges over the other. So hopefully you can see from this where the RTZ, the more player side of things, would work better, but then also where the CBZ, the more of a game improvement style, which these are, work extremely well. Hope you liked the video. If you did, go and give it a big old thumbs up. Hit that like button. YouTube likes, so do I. Down there is a subscribe button. It's free. It's great for the channel if you could subscribe, so thank you. Next, that one is a bell icon. That's a notification bell. If you click that one, that'll let you know next time I upload another video. So hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.